how to get your kids to shoot more or attack the legs more. This is very simple. 2 things you do. Number 1, find kids in practice that you can beat and force yourself to attack. You know what happens is sometimes we get with workout partners. We're always, as parents and coaches, wanting our kids to wrestle the best kids in the room, but really that's not very smart. At least not every partner. So if you get kids in the practice room that you can beat, now you can get 30 takedowns on a couple of good kids. They can't be so far below you skill level wise that it's the timing isn't there, and they're falling down. And so get a good competitive kid, but someone who's about 2 steps behind you, and say, okay, on this kid I'm forcing myself. I'm gonna push the envelope, get a lot of leg attacks. Plus, especially the younger kids, what they'll do is, if they hit someone, let's say with the firemen's, they'll hit it over and over. And you would need to encourage them to mix it up. Hit your low single leg, hit your ankle pick, hit your near arm far leg. Maybe even hit a left-handed high crotch, and because on occasion you might have to score left-handed, very seldomly, but really mix it up and push the envelope a little bit. And the second thing that you do is, when you do get someone who's even with you, or very competitive with you, on those kids, go ahead and force, don't worry about winning. I tell my kids, set some practices aside for get better. Now, certainly I want to get better at winning too. So if we're going matches in our practices, when I'm wrestling Kyle today in practice, and he's a good opponent, and the coach has the clock, and we're keeping score, today I might say, okay, I'm going to try to get a win, and I'm going to wrestle to win. Obviously to dominate and all that, but I first have to win. So I wrestle to win. Let's say tomorrow we have matches again, and I get Kyle again, and I'm going to say, okay, my goal is to take him down, let him up, take him down first period. And if it doesn't work and I lose that match, who cares? Now, I probably wouldn't do that in the state finals, but in practice I manipulate my goals, and I have different ambitions, different goals, or for different practices and for different partners. So tomorrow against Kyle, I might say, okay, my goal is to be ahead 4-1. Second period, I'm picking neutral, I'm cutting them, and I might try to wrestle them differently, and I'm forcing the leg attacks on that kid, and I might do that sometimes. And if I have 3 matches today and I lose all 3 matches in practice, but I'm trying to make myself better. And then who knows, maybe Thursday, Friday we go matches again. Then I go back to wrestling, let's say normal. I wrestle to win, right? So keep some practices set aside for getting better, right? Pushing the envelope. Another example is this practice. I might say, okay, I'm letting everybody in on my legs this whole practice, and I may get taken down 30 times, and who knows, maybe your coach or your dad's like, what happening? These kids usually beat so-and-so, and he beat you tonight. Say, hey, I'm trying to get better. I'm letting guys in on my legs today because I'm going to work my defense. And what happens is, in practice, when you let people in, they're going to be in pretty deep, and it's going to be difficult to win every takedown. But I'm getting wrestling minutes in these positions. If I'm pretty good with my head position and my positioning, which is one of our top areas that we focus on in our wrestling academy and camps, is it's better to win 2-0 than 12-10, right? Close matches, that is. It's obviously better to pin everybody if you can do that, but close matches, that's our scenario in our thought process. But there's certain practice I set aside and say, okay, I'm letting everybody in on my legs. I might do that a couple practices in a row, and then who knows? Maybe next Tuesday I may do it again. Then the following Monday I may do it again. And by the following Monday, now people get on my legs and they're not scoring, but they did 2 weeks ago. And this is my 4th practice in 2 weeks where I let everybody in. And so guess what? In the state finals, when oddly enough, or by accident, or the skilled wrestler gets in deep on my legs, I'm not going to panic there now. I've been there. I've got 3 or 4 hours of live wrestling time this season set aside where I allowed people in on my legs, and now I'm comfortable. And that's a big part of wrestling, is not just moves and technique, it's being comfortable. I'm perfectly fine when someone gets in on my legs. I wasn't a month ago, but now I am. And I actually lost a lot of takedowns in practice, maybe even hundreds of takedowns this season in practice in the beginning, but towards the end of the season, I wasn't losing takedowns. I was getting takedowns, but I set practice times, sessions aside where I'm going to push my own improvement by allowing myself to take some losses. There's some practices where we work just positioning. I'm saying, okay, number one guy, your offense. Number two guy, your defense. Defense can only score from a sprawl. So for 3 minutes, I'm on defense. I'm not shooting. I can't shoot. But my goal is to keep people off of my legs. And so I might set practice time aside. So who knows, maybe I might wrestle Kyle again in practice tomorrow night. And he's a great leg attacker, and coach says, okay, go 10-minute go on your feet. And I don't shoot one time in 10 minutes, right? But now I'm just working my head position and blocking. And who knows, 2 or 3 practices later, Kyle, who might be the state champ, no longer gets to my legs. But now, the whole focus of this video was how to shoot more. But, you could use the same methods for shooting more for developing other positions, like your defense, like your leg riding. So to get back to the shooting more aspect, set practices aside and say, I'm not wrestling smart this practice. I'm forcing shots. I'm good at wrestling smart. I'm good at winning matches. I'm good at beating these guys. But sometimes I hesitate. So for the next couple practices, I'm just going to try to get 100 takedowns of practice. And don't be afraid to grab the easier opponents and force yourself on them. Because what happens is, if I wrestle here and then I go up and I wrestle here for a few practices, when I get back to, let's say, smart, solid, let's call it solid wrestling, I get back, to where I'm wrestling more solid, now there's a gap. I'm a level jump ahead of where I was. So set some practices aside to improve, and that goes for shooting more, and use your workout partners and use your workout rooms. So hopefully that helps some of us, and check us out at purlerwrestling.com. We have a 15,000 square foot training facility in Wentzville, Missouri, just outside of St. Louis, and we have year-round camps out there, kids coming from Alaska all over the place into Missouri to train with us. So looking forward to having you.